Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of your math class. And today we're going to talk about what we kind of talked about yesterday in a small introduction. We're going to be talking about the area of composite shapes. So when shapes are put together, common shapes like triangles, like rectangles, like squares, like parallelograms, they are called composite shapes. So they are composed of more than one type of shape. So splitting shapes to calculate their area. In order to calculate the area, I'm just going to move that up a tiny bit so it's easy for me to work with. So in order to calculate the shape of a composite shape, you'll have to split your shape in two so that you can work with both shapes at different times. So here when I look at this shape, the first thing I see is that I see that there is a triangle and I see that there's a rectangle. And I see that I have all the dimensions, okay? So what I really need to know is I need to know the dimension of this little space right here. So before you get really into the math of a composite shape, you really have to study the shape, right? You could also, instead, I'm going to use this ruler that's right here, handily dandly. You could also just calculate the entire area of this rectangle and subtract this little bit of triangle after. There's two ways to do it. First way we're going to do it is without subtraction, but with addition, by adding these two shapes together. So the area of the first shape, I'm just going to go ahead and calculate it, and then I'll show you how to do the area of the second shape. So the area of my first shape, I'm not going to worry about this, is I have a lot of dimensions, but I know that my shape ends right here. Okay, so I know that my dimension is not going to be 10. I'm going to use this top one for the length, which is 7 centimeters. So I know that my area is length times width for a rectangle. I can't use that 10 dimension there because that 10 dimension takes us all the way across the whole length. But when I take away this triangle there, I have to use the other dimension, which is 7 centimeters. So you really wake up and listen to this part. Okay, this is very important. Don't be sleeping right now. You have to examine your shape carefully each time, if it's a composite shape, each time you go about calculating its area or its perimeter. You have to take your time on each composite shape. Okay, don't forget that. All right, as we move along here, I know that my length is 7 centimeters, not 10. 7 centimeters multiplied by 4 centimeters. And that is going to be equal to, pardon me while I do my math, 7, 14, 21, 28. 28 centimeters squared. Now I have to find the area of that triangle. And I'm going to have to do some simple mental math to see first how I'm going to get that second shape of that triangle. Because all I know right now is area of shape 1 is 28 centimeters. I have to figure out the area of shape 2. Now, this is a part of learning, so you're actually going to learn at this part, so pay attention. I have to figure out what the bottom length of this triangle is, okay? I know it cuts off right here, and I know that this is 7 centimeters, and I know that this is 10 centimeters, so this is what you have to do. You have to take your top length, okay, if it's going this way, if it's slanted, your shorter length, and subtract it from your longer length. So I have to figure out the base here. So if I know that this is 7 centimeters and I know that this is 10 centimeters, I know that my base here is 3 centimeters, right? Because that's the amount that's missing up here to make it 10 centimeters. Do you see that? You might have to rewind this and listen to it again, or listen to how I explain it again, okay? We have to calculate that missing piece up there, right? And in order to make this whole piece 10 centimeters, you'd have to add 3 to make it 10. So this base is equal to 3 centimeters. Okay, you really have to get in your problem-solving brain to solve these problems, okay? So I know I put my area 2, but I'm realizing that's not enough space, so I'm actually going to put it up here, guys. Sometimes you learn something after the fact. It makes more sense to do it right here, so I'm just going to scratch that off. Just erase that. You should be using pencil anyways. Multiplied by height, multiplied by base. So I know that it's 1 over 2 multiplied by my height. Look. My height is the same at the triangle though. There's no difference. So I have to multiply that by 4. And we determined that the base was 3 because what we had to do here is assume the difference between 7 and 10, and that's 3. Okay, so I like to, when I do it in my head, I do 4 times 3 is 12, multiplied by half is 6. So area is going to be 6 centimeters squared. Again, my friends, it is absolutely okay if you use a calculator or a multiplication table. That's okay. But we should learn to slowly develop those skills to do it in our head. So I know that the area of my rectangle here is 28 centimeters squared, and the area of my triangle here is 6 centimeters squared. Now to get the full area, pretty simple, just got to add them up. So I'll write total right here for myself. Again, sorry about my messy writing. It's hard to write at an angle like this. 28 plus 6 is 34 centimeters squared. All right, so for this one, check it out. I'm going to use a whiteboard. I have drawn a shape here, and it is a composite shape. Now, I'm going to show you the two ways that you can work this problem out. You can either use it doing addition by adding one rectangle with another rectangle, or you can do the subtraction method. So I've used green for the word addition because green means go, and red for the subtraction. So the first one we're going to do together is we are going to do the red one. And that's where we calculate the area of this shape here and the area of this shape here, okay? So in order to calculate the shapes of, or calculate the area of these two shapes, I'm going to write area 1. And I'm going to write area 2 right here. Area 1, I'm going to make this one my number 1 and this one my number 2 like this. And I am going to see that, of course, my length is the same on the bottom as it is on the top. So I know that it's length times width. And so that means that my length here is 4 centimeters on this side, multiplied, oh, I don't have to put that. What am I doing? Not till the end do I have to put my dimensions. 4 multiplied by 3 equals 12 centimeters squared. So my first shape is 12 centimeters squared. My second shape, this cute little square here, well, I don't know if it's square yet, I shouldn't say that. So my first is length times width. It looks like my length here is 1.5 centimeters, but I don't know yet what this little piece, this width is here. But I can look at my shape. Now's the time to examine my shape, okay? Now this is actually supposed to be here. Oops. Okay, now I can actually examine my shape. So what I see here is I see 3 centimeters here, and ooh, if it's got that little line, it's telling me that those two are the same dimensions, so I know that that's 3 centimeters. And that actually makes sense because 3 centimeters plus 3 centimeters is 6 centimeters, and this is 6 centimeters on the bottom, so that actually makes a lot of sense to me. So I know that my length is 1.5 and that my width is 3. Again, I don't need to write this. Apparently I really want to write my dimensions today. What the heck? Okay, multiplied by 3 is equal to, so 1.5 multiplied by 3 is 4.5 centimeters squared. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these two together to get my whole shape area. So I'm going to write total. I'm going to write that my total area equals 12 plus 4 is 16 plus 0.5 is 16.5 centimeters squared, right? This is a subtraction way as opposed to the addition way. So I'm going to use my red here. All right. And what you do in this red version is that you calculate the area as if this square was a full square. And this red piece we're just going to subtract from after. All right. So what we do is we calculate area number 1. And area number 1 is just that whole square. So that's going to be 4 centimeters multiplied by 6. Okay? Oh, I should put my formula always. Length times width equals 4 multiplied by 6. And my area is going to be 24 centimeters squared for that whole shape, as if this little bitty shape here was included in it. So now what we have to do is we have to calculate the area of this and subtract it from this area here. So area number 2 is equal to, well, I've got that 3 centimeters here. I know that now we have to do a little bit of checking. Okay, so I know that this part here is 1.5, and I need to figure out what this is, the unknown. But I do know that this side is 4 centimeters. So in order to find out what this little bit, this area is here, I'm going to have to take that 4 centimeters and subtract 1.5 from it. And then what I'm going to get is 2.5. And I know that 2.5 plus 1.5 is equal to 4, so then both of our sides end up being the same. So my area of shape number 2 is going to be length times width. And my length here is 3 centimeters, and we know that from our last question, multiplied by my width. And we figured that out by knowing that we had to subtract this little measurement that we knew about from this 4 to get 2.5, so that this side would equal up to 4 like that side. So it's 2.5. My answer is 7.5 centimeters squared. So I know that this shape is equal to 7.5 centimeters squared, and this big shape, the whole thing, is 24 centimeters squared. So I have to do a little bit of subtraction, and I have to write total area is equal to this first shape, 24 minus 7.5. And there's your total answer, my friends.